All right, we're continuing 14.3 day 2. This is our last example. So I just want to go through again how to do this in your calculator. We already said our X values are the years since 1962, and then these are our Y values. So let's go over to our calculator, and I actually want us to clear it so that we can just do the whole process again. So that's going to be second plus 7, 1, 2. All right, now it's cleared. You can also press the clear to get that screen away. First thing we have to do is turn on the stat diagnostic. If we do not do that, we will not see the R equals, that coefficient. So what we want to do is go to mode and go down all the way to stat diagnostics and turn it on. Now that the stat diagnostics are on, we can actually put this data into our calculator. So we go over to stat, which I already clicked, and then we go to edit. And now we type it all in. So this time we have a little bit more to type in. So just make sure that you are careful and that you don't miss any numbers or don't mistype anything. So remember, L1 is our X's. So first we're going to have 0. And I'm actually going to type them in on my keyboard this time. Then we have 6. And then 12. Oops, I missed a 2. Then we have 16, 19, 28, 29, 38, 43, 50. So just take a look at your data, scroll up and down if you need to, and make sure that you didn't miss anything. Then go right arrow and then type in your Y values. And this is going to be super important that you get all of the decimal points correct. All right, so once we type it all in, you need to check. One helpful check is to make sure you have the same number of data points in L1 and L2, which we do. Go back and look to make sure they have their decimal points. Now, obviously, 2 and 6 will not have decimals because they were 2.00 and 6.00. All right, we have our data in, so first thing we want to do is look at the graph to see what type of regression. So we want to first go to Y equals and clear out anything that's in there. There's nothing there, so we can go to stat plot. That's going to be second Y equals. We need to turn this stat plot on, and we want to leave it with that scatter plot. So we want to leave the scatter plot, which it already has. Now we go to zoom and go down to zoom stat, which is 9. All right, so here's our scatter plot. It's very clearly aligned, so that means we do indeed want linear regression, which of course is the only one we know right now, but later it'll be important that we can differentiate. So now to actually find the linear regression line, because our first question says, find the regression equation and the correlation coefficient. So now we go to stat. We already put that info in, so we can go over to calc, and then we go down to 4, which is the lin reg. All right, L1 we typed in our X's, L2 we typed in our Y's. Now we go to the store reg EQ. Remember, we do this so it'll graph the line for us. So to get this one, we go to vars, we go over to Y vars, and then we press enter on function. Then we want that first one, Y1, so just press enter again and go down to calculate. All right, now we can write that equation. So our regression equation is going to be Y equals. Well, here's our A value. A is 0.12. Again, we're rounding to the 100th. Then we put the X, and our B is going to be 0.8, and that'll be a 3. So that's our regression equation. Remember, the regular R is our correlation coefficient. So R equals 0.99. And real quick in words, what does that mean? That means we have a very strong positive correlation. All right, so now let's go look at our graph, and then we can interpolate or extrapolate. So now that we calculated it, we can go look at the graph and look at that line. That line goes very nicely through most of those points with a couple on the outsides, but it's a really nice line that tells us that that's the line of best fit. So that's our regression equation. Now we want to know, what would you expect the minimum wage to be in 2019? Is it interpolation or extrapolation? All right, 2019, is that going to be an X or a Y value? That's an X value, but remember how we found these numbers. We took the 2019 and we found how far away it was from 1962. So that means we want to do 2019 minus 1962, and that's going to give us 57. So we're looking for the X value of 57. Is that interpolation or extrapolation? Well, we looked at the years from 0 to 50. 57 is outside of that, so that means we are going to extrapolate. When you look for an X value, you can actually find it on your calculator. This one will be a little tricky because it's out of our window, but I'll talk about that. So if you ever are interpolating or extrapolating an X value, here's what you do. Now that we're at our graph, we're going to press trace. Then you press the up arrow and make sure it's blinking on the line. And then you just type in the X value that you want. So we want 57. We're going to press enter. But look what happened. It said error because we're actually going to go ahead and quit that, go back to the graph. Because we're looking for 57. Well, let's look at some of these points. Oops, I want to be on the line. These points go over to, our graph goes only to 53. So that means we were looking for something that was outside of our window. So to fix that, we can just go to our window. We want our X maximum to be, so scroll down one, we want our X max to be at least 57. So I'm just going to make it 60. That's the only thing we needed to change. We just wanted it to go a little farther over this way so that now when we trace, up arrow to get it on the line. Now when we type in 57, it will give us, here's 57 and here's that Y value. So we can expect our answer for this to be approximately 7.67. All right, now what does that mean? It said, what would you expect the minimum wage to be? So we're expecting it to be $7.67 in 2019. There are some additional videos in the extra resources page, so if you need even more videos on the calculator, you can go and look at those.